Hello and welcome. So this is another video of the series I've been doing called The Truth About Growing Up, and there's some things I really want to talk about. So the first one is dealing with the past, how I found reality hard and what kept me going. Well, as a young child who has often had body confidence issues, I did often dwell in the past. Even now, sometimes I look back because I did find life as a struggle, and I can pinpoint really when I started to have the feelings on not liking what I looked in the mirror from quite a young age. I would say from about since I started primary school, really, because a lot of it was on how you looked rather than personality, and I felt that I didn't have to look. I struggled to fit in, which I've talked about before, and it took me a while to make friends at school because it is a massive transition from going to spending all the time with your parents, and then you go to play school. You go to, I went then to nursery school, to school, and the three things there was totally different environment, and I kind of feel like I wasn't really ready, even though I was the age to go to school. I didn't feel like I fitted in at school. I needed some extra time being at nursery or playgroup, because they were the two. Because I started to sort of have peer pressure when I started nursery, and then it stemmed on to primary school. And I remember thinking when I first heard that's why I write a blog called Building Self-Confidence, The Ugly Duckling, because that's how I felt most of the time. I felt like I didn't, I wasn't pretty enough. I had puppy fat. But now I look back, I wasn't any of those things, to be honest. It was just that I needed that bit of time to get used to school and the structure of it, and I don't feel that I was given that time. Now there are a lot more constructive now. So when my son started school, he was a little bit nervous, but then within 2-3 days he then realised he absolutely loved it. So schools are very different now, but back then it was all about the way you looked, even at a young age, and I struggled with the way I looked, and I used to admire the other kids who were super confident, seemed to fit in really well, and I was like, how do they do it? And what kept me going was writing stories, listening to music, and watching comedies, and children's programs, which helped me with speech and language, because I struggled with the way with talking as a kid, and I always felt self-conscious about everything I said. And I think that's to do with peer pressure, because it was a lot back then on looks rather than on personality and what I could bring as a pupil to the class. Now there are a lot more, it seems, to be patient and on the ball with it a bit more in terms of taking care of children, feelings and emotions. I think that's come a long way in that respect. But as a young kid, I do expect that you're not, when you're having these insecurity thoughts, that at the time you think you're the only one that has those, but actually you're not. But you'd be surprised that even the most who even appears to be confident can also have insecurities as well. And sometimes they use their confidence to shine over their self-consciousness. And dwelling in the past, has affected me. When I think about once when it was around about Christmas, and I always did Christmas cards. And one year at school, all the kids that I gave cards to ripped them all up and threw them all over the playground. And I remember a kid coming up to me telling me that someone's done this, and I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm not, bothered, and at the time I wasn't. When I look back, I think, how did I not be bothered by that? Because then they started all crying, and I couldn't work out why they all burst into tears. But now I realised it was guilt. They felt guilty for ripping the cards up. But kids can be very malicious at times, and I think that can stem from their own environment, that they don't, that they don't disclose it or anything like that. But it's very much on how they've been set an example, So, I mean, kids are mean. A lot of the time, it's not actually them; it's what they're interpreting how to talk to somebody, how to speak, and dwelling on the past has held me back in a lot of ways. But then, like I said, music and watching comedy, watching and reading books, that's helped me to be be someone who's really improved in terms of self-confidence. Because even up to when my mum remarried, I was really unconfident. I can't look at the pictures of that day. No, not because it was a bad day, because I just hated the way I looked. And I felt ridiculous, and I wish that I had stuck with the original outfit I was going to wear, and it was pressure really to look good. And so, but how I've dealt with it is that I've got into fitness. That made a massive improvement. Reading self-help books, educating myself about food, about self-image, about confidence, about psychology, and I'm really into psychology, and I would like to do a qualification in that at some point, because I'm really into psychology, and psychology has a lot to do with it, and it did with me. And I think how I organised my life as a kid, through my teenage years and now. Well, I've always kept a journal since I was a kid. Some I've thrown away because I've wanted to scrap those feelings, and that's what's helped me to stop dwelling on the past, is that I've started again. And sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes you have to be reckless to get over the past, to then deal with your present and your future, and I really believe in that. And that's what's helped me stay organised on top of my life, is by keeping the journal, listening to my body, listening to my mind, and that's what's helped me get to where I am today. So, and then travelling on my own for the first time. Now that was a big step for me, because I was so confident that I used to have to ask my friends at school to go in the shop and buy me some McDonald's or sweets. I couldn't go in and ask for something on my own for a long time. And even my parents said, you need to start buying things for yourself and have the confidence to buy stuff yourself. But it was just like my worst nightmare. And I think it's because when I went to Clacton one year, they had a little tuck shop, and I always used to go to this tuck shop because I really was into bubblegum. Remember bubblegum? And I remember forgetting to pick up the change, and because of the reaction I got, it kind of put the fear in God in me, and that's what stopped me from wanting to buy things for myself. And I knew at secondary school that I had to do this, something I had to deal with. So I did, and I took it step by step, and it was like, no looking back. It was so good to be able to buy something for myself. And so I had a friend who was doing a European Studies course, who had to spend a year in a different country, and so I went out and visited her, and it was the first ever flight that I'd ever done on my own, and I was pretty nervous, but afterwards I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did that, because sometimes you do have to get out of your comfort zone and take on challenges rather than relying on somebody else to do it for you. And that it changed my life in a massive way just by doing that one thing, and it put the confidence in me. And so sometimes you have to do things that are out of the norm to bypass your confidence coming up, and that definitely worked for me. And that comes to how I found my independence, by moving away, going to working at a holiday camp. Again, was a massive step in my life, but it's something that I always knew I wanted to do. So, and I've talked about this a lot, but it's something that I love talking about because it was a turning point in my life. I kind of grew out of London for a bit, and I knew I wanted to change, and I didn't want to be stuck in the city life. I wanted to go and explore, and I was thinking about working on the cruise ships. I was thinking about doing the soccer camp thing in America, but I really wanted to work a holiday camp, so I did. I gave myself 2 years, and I did, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, and that is how I found independence. Now, I then met someone who I then married, and it was alright. It was okay marriage, but in the end we grew apart, and we weren't in that place anymore. And we were more friends than husband and wife, really. And it just, for me, it had to come to an end for me to then get on with the next stage in my life. And do I have regrets on that? In some respects, I do, because of the way it ended. But it was something that I had to do. I didn't want to keep relying on somebody. And it's taken me a long time, because I have really bad mental health issues. And it was something that and being in a mental health hospital made a huge difference this year. If you didn't know where I was actually in a mental health hospital, and I wish I'd have known about that last year, because I would have gone in last year if I'd have known, because it was something that I needed, and I think that's what's helped me. Taking a step back from my current life, or a step forward really, was something I needed to do, and I really needed to work at holiday camp, even if I came back a month later. But I saw it through, and it was the one regret I have is that I left, and I shouldn't have left. I should have stuck it out, and because I was entertaining guests while I was there, in terms of serving them in the restaurants. I would then help out in the evening venues as well, and it was my life. I loved it. It was like it was a job built for me, and it felt that way. And even though I had a bit of a regret when I'm being shown around where my main place of working would be within holiday camp, I soon got over that, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had, and it's what I needed. And it's through working. As soon as I left school, I decided in 1996, after staying on the sixth form, that I had enough of education. And even my mum said, I think it's about time you got a job, and so I did. I worked at Fulham Football Club on a casual basis, and that's how I found my feet. And I went to a careers office, what they used to have. They don't have them now. They're managed very differently. At the minute, I'm seeing a career specialist, because I want to do some work in mental health to help other people. And it was through find a careers office that was near to where I was living at the time that helped me found my first sort of full-time permanent job, and it was for a marketing company. And I've got to say, I never looked back, really. I did still want to go back to college to do some classes, and I did. So, and I always wanted to do something that was not destined for me, but something different. And, that's why, I want to do some other mental health. I also want to do some other things as well, in terms of, I would like to do. So I was, before I left the holiday camp, I was having singing lessons and drama lessons. Sorry, but my lips are really dry. And they were brilliant courses, they were great to do, and that's something that I would like to do again, and work in music if I can at some point, because I would love to do that radio work. And I've always been such an ambitious person, that, I've done quite a lot in my life that I can actually say I'm really proud of, and going to a holiday camp, being a steward, working in a contact centre, to doing a bit of nursery work has really helped me to become the person I am now, which I'm quite proud of, because I have managed to accomplish quite a lot in my life so far, and it's looking back on the past but in a positive light has made me see that actually it wasn't that bad. It's just that because I had a lack of confidence, I made it into more than what it was, you know. And now I feel quite easy now in the fact that life is falling into place than ever before, and I do see some really positive things, you know, arising. So, and it's through working where I found my independence. And if I'd have known about it, I would have gotten a job the way before. But actually thinking back, you know, I was doing sort of work kind of things. Like in my estate, when they used to have the yearly fete, I would always help out one of the stalls. So I was always kind of doing that, and it's looking back and it's like, yeah, I was, you know. And then my work experiences working at the first one was working in a primary school near to where my secondary school was. And then the second one was working for the museum. It's not there anymore, but it was called the Museum of Moving Image, and I loved it. Even though all I was doing basically was correcting something in a leaflet, and then I got to see the film Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis for free. And I thought, wow, this is a good work experience. I loved it, and you know, and so, you know, and it was something different. When I look back, it was something different to Monday to Friday, you know, because it fitted, and it was like, wow, you know, I'm glad I did that. And then I got work experience working at from the football club, and that's what brought me my independence, is through work. So that's, you know, I really enjoyed talking about experiences, because I hope that if you are a teenager and you're watching this, that this helps you, because, you know, sometimes childhood can feel like a struggle, and actually, in fact, when you look back, it wasn't that at all. I didn't have a hard life. I did have a roof over my head. You know, I was fed every day. I never went without. So I look back and think, what was I so stressed and worried about, really, when it wasn't that bad? You know, you always have issues in your life where you thought, well, I wish I'd never done that. But sometimes you have to go through the tough with the everyday in order to get to where you are sometimes. I don't know whether I believe in everything, and I've mentioned before, I don't know whether I believe that everything happens for a reason. But I do believe in fate, and I do believe that sometimes you have to go on a different journey in your life to get to where you want to be. And there's many paths that you can choose from, and sometimes you just have to dip your toe in a path to find out if it's for you or not. And that's what I've done, you know. And so, you know, that's, you know, I hope that you find that inspiring. And, you know, if you're in a place where you're not sure as to what you want to do, but you have so many ideas, then write them down and give them a try. Try each one, and if you find it's not for you, then who can blame you? You tried, you tested it, wasn't for you. Does it mean you're a failure? No, it doesn't. Does it mean that you can't move on to something else? No, because there's always opportunities and paths that you can choose from, and sometimes you just have to get the experience before you get the knowledge. So I hope they can bear that in mind, and I hope you got through lockdown. I hope that you know, financially you're okay, and in life. And I really hope, I would like feedback on these videos, because it's important to me. So, you know, do leave a comment below if there's something that you want me to speak about in these videos, or have any questions. But you know, that's what I wanted to talk about this week, because those are the 4 things that you know, that has helped me through my life, by reflecting. And that's the other thing, sometimes you have to reflect on your life, not necessarily dwell on the past, but reflect on things to see that actually, well, even though at the time it seemed so tough and hard to manage, and actually it wasn't at all. It's just that sometimes we immediately go into the negative zone and the pessimist rather than the optimist. You know, so anyway, I hope this video helps you. Well, 20 minutes. If you stuck it out, thank you, and thanks for watching. Take care.